Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J. This morning, John Cash, Chicago Tribune columnist extraordinaire.
And host of the Chicago Way podcast.
There you go. Where can people get that?
You can find it online. Google, Spotify, wherever you find your or iTunes, etc.
Chicago podcast, Chicago Way podcast. That's true as well.
You're missing. You haven't been a guest for a while. Because the last time I had Dan on, I was asking him about his personal life and his feelings. And then he gets all upset.
No, there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah,
I don't have a personal life or feelings.
Oh, man, he just turns into like a Krusty the Krab type of thing.
No.
He just gets in the crab shell.
I just have nothing.
He gets all upset.
I have nothing to say on the topic.
He just looks at you like you just shot Hayek, his dog, his fictional dog.
It's like asking me about botany. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what these. I have nothing to add.
Pistol
in these
and
topics.
stamen. That's all you have to know.
Thank you very much for that.
Right.
John Solomon, writing at justthenews.com, opining on Jim Comey's testimony before the Senate this week on Wednesday, which we discussed in some detail yesterday. When history looks back decades from now, fired FBI Director James Comey's latest testimony before the Senate may be remembered remarkably, not for what he knew, but rather what he claimed he didn't know.
Rich English toffee and creamy chocolate.
I don't know what that is. Sounds like a commercial for what was that toffee? What's that candy bar? I don't know. All right, I guess we're going to have to work on this mashup of how many times that Jim Comey said, I did not recall, I cannot recollect, and so on and so forth. And this against the backdrop of all sorts of things that you would think the guy in charge of the FBI investigating a presidential candidate would have very specific knowledge of, including nothing. He couldn't. This was inscrutable to him. He couldn't even make out what DNI Ratcliffe was trying to convey in this letter that he sent, detailing handwritten notes from one former CIA director, John Brennan. That again, the notes say John Brennan briefed President Obama, other national security advisors, national security officials about the intelligence, including the alleged approval by Hillary Clinton on July 26th. 2016, of a proposal from one of her foreign policy advisors to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal claiming interference by Russian security sources. Point here is, as John Ratcliffe concedes in this recounting of John Brennan's notes, is not that they know the accuracy of the allegation, but the allegation is coming from Hillary Clinton supporter and CIA Director John Brennan, and from the people who say you're supposed to trust your national security and intelligence officials.
What is the larger issue here, Dan? See, I think people get lost in the weeds on policy, like who said what and who's the sub-source working for the Soviet or the Russians.
Well,
and the larger issue is what?
The coup.
The larger issue is that your government has worked to take down a president.
Duly elected president.
Elected president. And if you don't care because you don't like Trump or you do like Trump, whatever, it doesn't matter because that's what a banana republic does.
Here's Jim Comey not talking about English toffee bars.
Did Mr. Page deny knowing people that you accuse him of having contact with?
I don't remember. That's about all I recall. I don't remember. I don't remember learning anything additional about Steele's sources. Not that I recall, no. I don't remember Bruce or ever giving me. I don't recall that.
So do you recall?
I do not.
Do you recall?
I do not. I don't remember any discussion. I don't remember using that word, but I don't remember using that word. I don't remember ever being informed. I don't recall being informed of that.
Did you ask any questions or do any due diligence on this at all?
I don't remember anything about the facts that have been revealed recently about the subsource. I don't remember the exact words, but something similar.
That doesn't
ring bells with me.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty stunning thing. It didn't ring a bell.
Which I'm sure you remember.
I don't remember the exact words. I don't remember whether I knew the Democratic Party. I don't know for sure. I don't know. I don't think I knew before. I remember reading the footnote. I don't know whether I asked. I don't know what that refers to. As I said earlier, that does not ring any bells with me when I read that. I don't remember it. I don't remember receiving anything that's described in that letter.
You know, Mr. Comey, I call that selective memory.
Yeah, at best, Joni Ernst.
Since when has Jim Comey sounded like a Chicago alderman?
Well,
to the best of my knowledge, I cannot recall.
Yeah.
What is that?
That's
Jim Comey?
That should be, part of the annals of American history, the same way that Ollie North's testimony of "I don't recall this and I don't recall that" during the Iran hostages, for weapons and Iran-Contra deal was.
Right.
Okay, for more on this topic and obviously a bunch of other big news this morning, starting with President Trump and the First Lady testing positive for COVID, we're pleased to be joined by Bret Baier, Fox News anchor, number one best-selling author of 3 Days at the Brink, FDR's Daring Gamble to Win WW2. Bret, thanks for joining us. Appreciate that.
Good morning.
I know you had properly low expectations for much news coming out of the Jim Comey testimony on the Hill before when we talked about it in the run-up to it, as did I. And, I mean, I think it pretty much lived down to expectations, with the exception of just trying to keep this front and center in the public's mind as more information has become available, like the Steele subsource, like this missive from the Director of National Intelligence. And I guess, but as we sit 30 days out, the big question is just going to be whether Barr maintains the commitment that he made to tell the story of what happened in 2016 and 2017 for the American people to assess before they make a decision for president.
Yeah, I think that's really where it all lies. What happens with Durham, or an interim Durham, or some explanation from Barr about where things stand, because the Comey hearing itself was, again, very unfulfilling, like other of those hearings, and it is amazing. I mean, for all the times that he said he can't recall, he wrote a book. He managed to recall pages. I interviewed him for the book. He recalled some things that he put in the book, but he did not recall major events that deal with the investigation.
He was also, sorry to interrupt, but he was also, I mean, I'll characterize him, his typically insufferable self. The key exchange between him and Ted Cruz, where Cruz asked him about conveying to the FISA court the fact that the Steele dossier was paid for by Hillary Clinton and the DNC after Comey established when he knew that was true. And he said in response, well, I think the court was surprised there was political bias in the document. Well, that's not the same thing. But that's typical of Comey answers when he answers anything that he can recall.
Yeah. Here's the issue, is that already it was not getting coverage. I mean, we were the only ones that really did the coverage. Now, with the president and the first lady having COVID-19,
right,
it's not breaking through anything unless Durham comes out, and even that on other channels would probably be second fiddle.
With respect to them testing positive, the announcement made overnight by a presidential tweet, and then a statement by the doctor that obviously the nation will be apprised of their health. They're apparently asymptomatic at present, and so forth. What's the sense that this gives Democrats more runway to say, well, now we have to cancel the debate, at least the October 15th one?
Pretty strong. I think it's, he's going to be in quarantine. And so they're going to try to do, from what I understand, some uplinks and some, satellite appearances for fundraisers. But he's not leaving the residence, as far as I know. And I don't think they're set up to do a debate with him via Zoom. So I'm pretty sure the Miami debate's going to fall by the wayside, and then he'd be good to go by Nashville. But, all these people are kind of playing out how this plays politically. I don't think good for President Trump. I mean, his whole deal is in-person campaigning. He's already trailing Biden on the fundraising numbers. And, is there a sympathy factor? I'm not sure that it extends to President Trump.
Not on Twitter's there.
It should. It should. I mean, he's the President of the United States.
Right.
But I think that after, everything the Democrats have been going after, this kind of fits into that MO.
Bret, how does this play into the vice presidential debate?
I think it makes it consequential. I think it just makes the attention shift there. And Vice President Pence tested negative today, we're told. That seems like it's going forward. and we'll be out there in Utah next week.
What is your assessment as somebody who's moderated debates on how Tuesday night's debate proceeded, including the job that your colleague Chris Wallace did?
Yeah, I think it was a mess. I think it was unbecoming of what America needed at the moment. I think there's a lot of criticism of Chris. There's some praise of Chris. I think that any moderator would have had a tough time in that position. And by the time he finally realized that this wasn't an initial burst by the president to throw Biden off, that this was kind of the whole debate, it was almost too late. And if you go back in there, there's some substance. There's some interesting back and forths. There's some things that, President Trump screws up. There's some things that Biden screws up, mainly the not answering the question about Supreme Court packing and other things. But you couldn't hear it because they were talking over each other, and that's frustrating.
Jake Tapper on CNN lamented that a friend's sixth-grade daughter burst into tears and had to run to bed. Do you think that we can't have any more debates, as Frank Bruni argues in the New York Times and other op-ed writers argue, because we're harming the children in addition to the republic?
No. Listen, there's worse things they see on YouTube than than that. So, listen, we need debates. We need the back and forth. We just need it to be more civil on both sides. And
what about the questions? What about the questions that Wallace asked, particularly? I'm thinking about the one, obviously Trump is not the most articulate, silky debater, but the question on, it was on not racial sensitivity, but he brought up, he conflated racial sensitivity sessions with critical race theory. And I wonder about the framing of that and how you've been successful in your career by framing things straight.
I'm not going to go down the road of going into Chris's questions or analysis of why he chose to do what he did. He had a plan. The plan was thrown out the window, and I think he regrets some things. He talked about it the other day, but I'll let his words speak for himself.
All right.
Looking prospectively at these debates, just again leaning on your experience. And sort of the selection of the moderators, the news circulating that the Steve Scully, the moderator of the next debate, if it does happen, was a former intern for Joe Biden. Now, I mean, you could argue that could cut both ways. Maybe he didn't enjoy his experience there. So, but regardless, I mean, just the appearance of that, is that a problem?
Listen, I've known Steve for years and years and years. He's the guy at C-SPAN, right?
Yeah.
Who listens to both sides, takes all the calls. He's as fair as they come because he was an intern at, way back when he was a teenager. I don't think really factors in. Is it the greatest appearance? No, but he's very, very solid. He's a straight shooter to Republicans and Democrats. His role is going to be facilitating these town hall questions.
Right.
And again, if it happens at all, I don't think that this is going to happen unless they figure out the remote Zoom deal. And I think that'll be awkward, but it's going to be fascinating to see.
He is Bret Baier, Fox News anchor, as you know, special report, 5 p.m. Chicago time, weekdays. #1 best-selling author of 3 Days at the Brink, FDR's Daring Gamble to Win World War II. Bret, thanks as always for being with us. Appreciate it.
See you guys.
Take care. You joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer.